Two phones that may catch your eye under 10K are the POCO M7 and the Honor X7d. Both cater to users who want something reliable for daily use but have very distinct approaches. What are those exactly? Let's break it down right here in this comparison review. I'm your host CJ, and let's get right to the video. Design-wise, the POCO M7 4G keeps things simple. It uses an all-plastic build with a basic carbon black look that resists fingerprints fairly well. Well enough. It's on the thicker and heavier side at 8.3mm and 224 grams, so it feels somewhat chunky but durable. POCO does include an IP64 rating, which gives it some added confidence against dust and light water splashes. The Honor X7d, meanwhile, may also be plastic, but it has a more refined approach with a matte finish and a large squared-shaped camera island that gives it a more modern flair. Our desert gold unit even feels somewhat playful with its donut-like tone. It's also SGS 5-star drop resistant, meaning it can survive 1.5-meter drops, and the IP65M rating goes further than POCO's. It offers resistance against stronger water jets and even short submersion up to 0.5 meters for up to 1 minute, according to Honor's marketing. It's not meant to be dunked regularly, but it's designed to survive accidental splashes and brief water exposure better than most phones in its class. So while POCO keeps it traditional and sturdy, Honor pushes the narrative of being built for the on-the-go type of users. The POCO M7 comes in a bigger size with a 6.9-inch IPS LCD running at a smooth 144Hz refresh rate and full HD Plus resolution. It's large and fairly sharp, though brightness tops out at 850 nits, which may struggle under harsh sunlight. It only has a single bottom speaker, which can get easily blocked when gaming or watching videos, specifically when you hold it horizontally like this. Meanwhile, the Honor X7d takes a different route with a slightly smaller 6.77-inch TFT LCD at 120Hz refresh rate and 800 nits peak brightness. It doesn't reach POCO's refresh rate or resolution advantage, and with Widevine L3, streaming platforms are limited to 720p on Netflix and 1080p on YouTube without HDR support. However, sound is where the X7d hits back. The phone offers stereo speakers with volume that can go up to 400%, delivering a louder, fuller soundstage that's more enjoyable for videos and podcasts. For unlocking methods, both use a side-mounted fingerprint scanner embedded into the power button, along with face unlock. Both are fast, so usability is pretty much even here. When it comes to cameras, both phones take different approaches. But interestingly, despite the Honor X7d having the higher resolution main sensor at 108 megapixels, the POCO M7 can still hold its ground in some cases. Like we always say here, higher megapixel count doesn't necessarily mean better image quality. The POCO M7 features a 50-megapixel main camera paired with a secondary sensor and an 8-megapixel selfie camera. The Honor X7d, with its 108-megapixel main shooter and 2-megapixel depth sensor, can come out a bit too saturated though. The saturation can be a little too aggressive, causing some shots, especially outdoor scenes and skin tones, to look more processed than natural. POCO's M7, on the other hand, captures more detail overall, giving photos a sharper and more realistic appearance. Colors are still lively, but don't cross into cartoonish territory, which makes POCO's results more pleasing and usable in real-world scenarios. Personally, I prefer how the POCO handles detail retention and overall image clarity. Video recording is capped at 1080p at 30 frames per second on both phones, with Honor adding a dual view mode for creative shots. This is the sample video for the POCO M7 shooting at the rear camera, shooting at 1080p at 30 frames per second. So this is what it looks like. One more time. And then you have details here. Okay. So what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments below. This is the Honor X7d shooting at 1080p at 30 frames per second using its rear camera. So that's what it looks like. Oh, nag-iPad! Isa pa. Ayun. Okay. Here are your details.
So what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments.
So while Honor has the technical advantage in editing features, users who prefer more vibrant shots may actually find the POCO M7 4G's images more satisfying and visually engaging right out of the box. Interestingly, both phones run on the Qualcomm Snapdragon 685 chipset, which is good for daily multitasking and casual gaming. On the POCO M7 side, configurations include 6GB of RAM with 128GB of storage, or 8GB of RAM with 256GB of storage. It handles everyday apps well. Lighter games like MOBAs run smoothly, though heavier games require low settings, and our reviewer has noticed occasional random shutdowns when using the camera. The Honor X7d, meanwhile, comes with 8GB of RAM and a fixed 512GB storage option. When it comes to raw numbers, the Honor X7d pulls slightly ahead in most tests, especially in Antutu where it scored over 500K, compared to POCO's M7 360K. That means the Honor X7d generally handles heavier tasks a bit more smoothly. In Geekbench, both phones are pretty close for everyday CPU power, with almost identical single-core and multi-core scores. Even in graphical performance, the GPU scores are nearly the same, so gaming performance feels very similar on both. However, the Honor X7d also shows better performance in long-term productivity tasks like in PC Mark, which suggests it stays more stable when multitasking or switching between apps. So in simple terms, both phones are capable for casual use, but the Honor X7d is a little stronger, especially in overall performance and long-term smoothness. The POCO M7 is still reliable for everyday use, just not as powerful, I guess, on paper. The POCO M7 runs on HyperOS 2 based on Android 15. It's lightweight and smooth, but there are ads within the UI, and occasional bloatware can feel intrusive unless they are all manually disabled. You still get modern features like Circle to Search, which adds value to the experience. The Honor X7d runs on Magic OS 9 on top of Android 15, and comes with suggested or pre-installed apps that are easy to uninstall. The AI Mobile Assistant button is a mixed bag though. It may not appeal to tech-savvy users, but it can be useful for seniors or casual users who prefer pressing one button to take screenshots or enable the flashlight. Despite that, the system feels stable and optimized for everyday use. Overall, HyperOS is cleaner but has some ads around it, while Magic OS feels more stable and user-friendly for non-power users. Battery life is where POCO makes its biggest statement. The 7000 mAh battery can last 2 to 3 days depending on usage, and lasted 20 hours and 57 minutes in our PC Mark battery test. Charging is at 33 watts, and it also supports 18 watts reverse charging, which essentially means you can turn it into a power bank for other devices. The Honor X7d's 6500 mAh battery isn't the biggest, but it's still impressive. It yielded a runtime of 16 hours and 27 minutes in our PC Mark battery test. Charging is faster at 35 watts and tops up in around an hour and a half. If you want a phone that can practically outlast your weekend trip without that much charging, then POCO is your best pick. If you still want great endurance but prefer a slightly quicker recharge and slimmer form factor, Honor holds its ground well here. With that, they both get a tie here. So, how much do they both cost? The POCO M7 4G starts at 7,499 pesos for the 6 plus 128GB model and 8,499 pesos for the 8GB plus 256GB variant, making it more affordable. It's designed for users who value long-lasting battery life, a bigger display, and simple reliability without premium features. The Honor X7d costs 9,999 pesos and justifies the extra cost with a massive 512GB storage, stereo speakers, water and drop resistance, and a more refined build. At the end of the day, these two phones are clearly built for different types of people. If you want something that keeps going for days, has a big screen for watching or scrolling, and gives you the most practical setup for the lowest price, then the POCO M7 4G is the smarter pick here. But if you'd rather have a phone that feels more premium to use every day, can handle accidental drops or sudden rain, gives you loudest stereo sound, and already comes loaded with a ton of storage, then the Honor X7d feels more complete overall. It may cost a bit more, that also gives you more assurance in the long-term use. Both are really solid for just under 10K, so it honestly comes down to your lifestyle. Whether you're someone who wants a battery tank you barely have to charge with, or someone who wants a more well-rounded device that looks and feels a bit more polished, your choice depends on what you value the most. So what do you think of this comparison? Which one do you think you're getting? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. If you found this video helpful or informative, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon so you won't miss out on any of our future uploads. Follow us on the socials, that's Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok, and tugotech.com playlist tech news and reviews. Once again, this has been CJ, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye! See you later!